instead of wasting time, let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Mubashir Angolikar. I head the Department of Public Health at JN Medical College, Kahir. We run an MPH program, and I've been pretty active for last 15 years in research and have widely published. So maybe that was the reason that the organizers thought that I could take 2 sessions for you. One is how to formulate a research question, and the other one is how to write for publication. You should be doing, for yourself. So very quickly.
We are medicine residents from Pune.
Excellent. Residence, very important. After that, and private practitioner?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm a private practitioner. I don't mind names with it. Dr. Prashant. Dr. Mukul. Ashwin and Dr. Swara. Very nice.
Dr. Rekha, I'm a clinical nutritionist having a freelance practice.
Excellent.
Dr. Tanvi, I'm a pathologist and I work in lab.
Lab. Very nice.
Dr. Sriva, I'm a clinical research scientist.
Dr. Saravanan, Professor of Medicine. I am Dr. Aparab Kale, doing it on
My boss.
Dr. Negal.
Private clinic. So I have some private practitioners who have good ideas to be put into a research question to do a project, and I have over here budding scientists doing their first research, their dissertation, and some people from academics. I think this is an excellent mix, good research question. Then we will have a discussion on guidelines for creating a good research question, and consider appropriate methods for investigating your research question or questions. But before we do this, what comes to my mind and why I had this round of introduction with you was, where do these questions come from? I mean, okay, we'll formulate a good research question, but where do these questions come from? Pardon me? Yes, from your workplace, from when you're interacting with your patients, you see things and ideas come in your head. You start asking questions. 1 second.
Observations in your own practice.
Yes, excellent.
Getting good results if we are working and then we want to make it as a paper or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, so where are these questions coming? So you want to make it as a paper, that's right. So mainly you're telling me observations when you are interacting with your patients. Where else?
We know the need of the hour.
Yes, and that need of an hour you know by doing what?
Actually, research. Basic research.
No, before that. Literature, excellent. See, he's a PG. That shows. Yes, when you're reading, you read gaps in the knowledge. When you're seeing your patients, you find things that you don't have answers for. Where else? Conferences like this? Haven't you been hearing things from morning? Yeah? So all these places are generating ideas, generating questions. And now these questions need to be formulated into a research question. So a research question is the uncertainty about something that the investigator wants to resolve by making measurements on their study subjects. Right? So how do you make a choice? But there are so many questions. What do I want to do? So first and foremost, your interest. And then if you're working in an organization, some institution, the interest of the institute is very important. If you're in private, great, your interest is the interest of the institute. Availability of funds would be an important reason to make choices in those questions, that which one should I pick? And what is interesting for the scientific community? Having said that, you might have a wonderful question in mind, but if it's not useful to the public, why should we be pursuing it? So what should be the most important thing for you to start thinking on a question that is, eating you up is it of public interest? And then, once you have embarked on something that, yes, is need of an hour as you said, then you start looking at it, does it fit into the criteria of FINER? F-I-N-E-R, feasible. Do I have adequate subjects to enroll for this research question? Do I have adequate technical expertise within me or around me that I can take? Is it affordable in terms of time and money both? Is it manageable? All this would be feasibility. Then I for interesting. Getting the answer, would that be an interesting thing for my peers, my community? When we say novel, the dictionary meaning would be something unique. But no, research is not something rocket science all the time, first discovery, no. Answering small gaps, seeing where one step, how to lead it to the next, that is novelty. So the question that you have been thinking on from conferences, from literature, from your observations in your private practices, to make it a good research question, you're going to see, is it F-I-N-E ethical? You have to make sure that not only does the ethical review board give you permission, but otherwise also, ethics is something within. It's a self-responsibility to do whether my day-to-day work or my doctor-patient relationship or my research ethically. It's a self-responsibility, and you should make sure that your research question is going to answer the question ethically. And then, is it relevant? Is it relevant to the scientific knowledge? Is it relevant to the clinical and health policy program currently what is happening? So we have, for example, Ayushman Bharat. So is it relevant? Don't go on something that was 10 years back relevant. Currently what is relevant, your question should be in alignment with that. And is it relevant to the future research? So once your research question starts fitting into these characteristics of FINER, it's time to format your question. And we format it on a PICOT basis. I have tried to keep my presentation today like a recipe. I'm giving you ingredients and I'm telling you how much to put. So when you now are sure that your idea, your research question is according to FINER doable, feasible, interesting, something that will take the present knowledge forward ethically, then you start formatting it on the PICOTs. What is the population which is going to be studied? From where will it come? Your private practice, or are you going to go into the community, or are you going to collaborate with someone? So what is the population which is being studied? What is the intervention in the study group? And what is the intervention in the control group? What is the outcome interest? Okay, when I do this research, what will be the outcome of this research? Then, within what time frame am I going to do it to get my answer? Is it going to take me 1 year, 2 years, 10 years? You should know. And finally, which study design will be the best study design for this research question? So once you start framing your thought, your idea, which you initially got from where? From literature, or from your own observations, or from conferences like this, you start putting it. First step is go through the FINER criteria, is it doable, and then put it in the PICOT format. So here is the recipe. This is your research question. This is how it should be. look at it carefully and tell me, is it the Picot format which I told you? Can you see that? P4? Which population? Which? Z population is at primary health. So this is a community based I've put. Those which are covered by this primary center. I is for? X drug. And what is in the control group? C. A placebo or maybe sometimes some other drug. You could be doing 2 drugs or you could be doing 2 practices, 2 separate surgical things, anything. But okay, so we know what we are doing in the control group. O, what's the outcome? Reduce or prevent a disease. And what was T? Time frame? And what was S? A randomized control trial. So your research question should be like this. So if you just put it and now put the fill in the blanks, you put the X, Y, Z, N, whatever. So, or instead of 2, I could have just put a hashtag, so many number of years or months. That is how your research question should be. And your research question should also at the time answer a hypothesis. What is an hypothesis? It is an assumption or a presumption that you are making offhand, which you think is the answer to your question, and it needs to be tested. So it's a statement which contains the Picot, but also has the effect size. So the same thing with the effect size reduces by 30% or by 15%. So a hypothesis here is, there I was asking a question, will it? Here I am saying it will, and it will reduce it by 30%. I have added an effect size to the to my research question. So the research question and the hypothesis together should answer a key problem through literature search, through discussions with your peers, and your finer criteria you should be able to apply. Then your research question is a good, what I said in the beginning, a good research question. So what are the guiding principles for a scientific research? The question, it should be posing significant question that can be investigated empirically. The method which you are using that permits direct investigation of the question. There should be reasoning in it, and it should be able to replicate and generalize across studies. It is very important that we do a research which is replicable, and always disclose research to encourage professional scrutiny and critique, because that is what will make it better. So why are research questions important? Coming to our, from where we began. Can we just not start doing research? Yes, but why?
Wasting resources. There's no direction. You just keep doing research without a goal.
Yes, you're right. And? Yes, so, so you all agree that by going through that exercise, you will have a well-crafted question which is guided systematically to have a planned research, and formulating your question precisely enables you to design a study with a good chance of answering, as he said, otherwise you might be going somewhere else, not in the right direction. So it's very important that we spend a lot of time on our research question. So writing a research question, you have to keep in mind what is it exactly that I want to learn about. Draft and redraft. I gave you the recipe, so I made it really very easy, but otherwise sometimes when we are making a research question, it may not fit the recipe so well. For a PG student, it will. But if we are trying to do something which we ourselves don't know what we are trying to do, it becomes very difficult to juggle with things and say how to put it. But with your peers, with your colleagues, with help from others, the research is another thing about teammanship. It's not a one-man show. So we should work as a team and ask for feedback from our colleagues and build on the work of others. A famous saying in research always is, don't rediscover the wheel. So you build on the work of others. To summarize now, I would say spend plenty of time on formulating it so that you avoid mistakes. Show it to others so that you can refine it more. You should be objective, your question should be objective so that you can draw conclusive results, and you should be very sufficiently specific so that it is replicable and reproducible. I think that is, most simply put, how to formulate a research question. Thank you.